Earlier today, the stablecoin market hit $300 billion. It has just been growing exponentially. And in today's video, we're going to highlight how you can take advantage of that. New stablecoin projects are coming out of the woodworks, a lot of them having really nice airdrop opportunities, early access opportunities. Each one slightly different than the other, some very different models and growth projections, the different ecosystems, whether they're on Solana or other blockchains. And on top of that, we're going to also look at not just stablecoins themselves, but some of the infrastructure associated with it that also has some really exciting airdrops and opportunities associated with them as well. All of that and more in today's video is going to be packed. If you're new here, my name is Alex. Talk about crypto news, crypto passive income. If you enjoy content like that, consider subscribing. You enjoyed this video and the time that was put into making it, consider subscribing and smash up the like. I think I already said that, but either way, without further ado, let's end the video. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the entire stablecoin market has now surpassed over $300 billion. It is a new record high. It is impressive, the growth trajectory that we are seeing. I think this is just in many ways still the beginning as this continues to grow. Now, one of the things that out of all of these stablecoin projects that are coming out of the woodworks, what you're starting to see is a lot of blockchains, because a lot of these stablecoins are on top of Solana. They're on top of Ethereum. They're on top of AVAX, you name it. And there's a huge level of incentivization happening right now for projects and blockchains specifically to get new stablecoin projects inside of their ecosystem, because more stablecoins inside their ecosystem means more liquidity, and that means better returns for that blockchain. So this is why you're starting to see, Ethereum hitting all-time highs, surpassing $5 trillion in transfer volume. Absolutely impressive. But what you're seeing is Algorand integrating with Allbridge to launch a dedicated stablecoin bridge. You see the likes of Cardano setting aside 8 figures of ADA for stablecoin liquidity. There's a huge amount of attention right now, and I want to make sure you are fully able to take advantage of it. So first project that we're going to be talking about today is called idOS. Now, idOS is going to have an airdrop. They are a portable identity for the stablecoin economy. What does this mean? Well, for some people, they're not going to like this project as much because this does require KYC. And so when it comes to something like this, know your customer and knowing who you're dealing with within the stablecoin ecosystem, there are still regulations in certain countries, for example, in the United States, when it comes to stablecoins. So when you have the opportunity to be, essentially, it's kind of like your driver's license or who you are, having your, when you go to the bank, they're going to ask you for your driver's license to make sure you are who you are before you withdraw money or you send money. So having that type of identity available to you on the blockchain is essentially what idOS is attempting to do because of the regulation when it comes to stablecoins. So they're kind of jumping ahead as more regulation comes in the United States, and really kind of is happening as well in Europe. They're kind of ahead of the curve to make sure that for projects and ecosystems that require a KYC, you already have that when it comes to the stablecoin ecosystem. I think it's pretty interesting what they're doing. It is a novel idea. I don't know if it is a massive opportunity. I think there's plenty of opportunity to be had. They are backed by some pretty impressive names in the industry. When you look at the likes of Ripple X for XRPL, you like the likes of Circle, Arbitrum, Near Protocol, and Starknet. So it is interesting to see this overall growth. Don't fade this. They do have a reward pool. They haven't said that they are dedicating an airdrop, but there's been a lot of hints that have been outlined for that. Obviously, time can change and maybe something comes out further down the road. But foundation of the stablecoin economy is now the decentralized identity layer. Gives users control of their identity. Working with visionary partners accelerates the future. So great reward pool right now. Don't forget to quack. It's kind of one of those things when it comes to other platforms with SocialFi. That's what's called a quack for those maybe not familiar. I learned that the other day, and create a idOS related content. So there are going to be some opportunities in airdrops, presumably down the road. So one to keep an eye on. And there is a massive ecosystem. Mind you, we're just talking about idOS right now, and this is just on Solana when it comes to stablecoins one way or another, whether it is the payment apps, payment cards, merchant service systems, cross-border financing, infrastructure. There's just a lot out there. And I want to move on to the second one, because the first one, idOS, is kind of like an identity. It's not necessarily infrastructure based. It's not an actual stablecoin itself, but is crucial to the stablecoin economy. Now, the second one is called KAST. Now, KAST and the idea of debit cards within the stablecoin ecosystem is becoming a huge trend. We saw this with the likes of Plasma. Plasma has already 75,000 plus signups for their card when that comes out. So that way, it's kind of like a credit card, right? When you buy things and pay for things with your credit card, you earn points. And your point systems, you can trade in the points or whatever it is, or maybe you get cash back. And so essentially, you're able to do this with the yield that's generated from stablecoins through incentive programs and through debit cards like KAST. So KAST does have a guaranteed airdrop. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But the one thing that I think is super interesting is for a lot of people that want to kind of very much have, if you have $100,000 in stablecoins, you don't really want to cash that out to the bank, but you want to be able to use that across the globe, having a Visa card, which is pretty much accepted anywhere, and to be able to pay and use things simply with that card without having a debit card or something like that traveling with you, I think is a very interesting approach. And as stablecoins become much more accepted, this really kind of bridges the gap where you don't really have to necessarily worry about a company not accepting stablecoins because you're paying as if you're paying with cash. And KAST is on Solana. You can pay with stablecoins at 150 million stores, ATMs. And here's the thing, right, is you can also earn yield on the stablecoins as you're holding them in your wallet. So there's a lot of really great incentive things on top of this. So that way you generate yield and you pay. So instead of, for example, your bank where you pay with your debit card, you're probably earning almost nothing. In this instance, you have the opportunity to earn, and it's nothing insane, but there are some features that make it super, super interesting, especially if you're very, very involved in the stablecoin ecosystem. And like I said, they do have an airdrop. Their point program exists. I'll leave a link to this down below for KAST. I'll leave a link to all these projects that we're talking about in today's video, so you can also go and check them out on your own and do a bit of due diligence. Now, one of the others that is interesting is a project called Credible. Now, Credible is a buy now, pay later, which is a huge, huge aspect of the current decade. When you look at companies like Affirm, you look at other companies that one went public earlier today, Klarna, or earlier this year, Klarna. Buy now, pay later is a huge, huge market. So Credible is doing that, except with stable coins, which I think is pretty innovative, very interesting to see what they're doing thus far. They have been out for just a year and they have been growing. $60 million plus tokenized real world asset collateral, 30 million plus in USDC transactional value, and then 350K retail users across Africa, India, and beyond. So this is definitely a smaller project, those are the projects that typically you get in early and you get to see the ecosystem grow. You really get to take advantage of it because maybe, buy now, pay later isn't for everyone, right? So it is therefore going to somewhat be a smaller project, but there's still always plenty of opportunities in those smaller projects. I think this is just interesting. I've not seen another project or another crypto-based project do something like this to directly challenge the likes of Affirm and Klarna in an industry that is heavily controlled by them as far as market share. So seeing this on the Web3 side, I think overall is pretty interesting and something worth checking out if that is of something of interest to you. Either way, you can generate yield. If we go back to this real quick before we move to infinity, you can generate yield by contributing your stablecoins to this, right? So you have stablecoin vaults depending on how you want to participate. Let me just go back here real quick. Depending on how you want to participate in something like this, you have short-term durations, 7 to 120 days. There's zero default track record, backed by receivables and verifiable partners. So there's a lot of very interesting things in something like this. Highly recommend that if something like this is of interest to you, maybe for your company, something definitely worth checking out. Now moving on to infiniFI. Now, infiniFI is a project that also has an airdrop. Now, this one is maybe a little bit more time sensitive because season 1 ends in December, but there's still going to be plenty of opportunity to participate. They have been alive for about 4 months, and in that time, they've surpassed 140 million in TVL, partnered and integrated with some of the biggest names in DeFi, and they continue to grow with higher yields and no leverage. So if you do want to check this out, this is another project that has a ton of really interesting approaches to what they're doing. They do have a guaranteed airdrop. In fact, one of the other individuals that I know in the crypto space, Steven from DeFi Dojo. By the way, Steven is a mathematical whiz. I think he actually has maybe a PhD in math. But either way, very, very smart when it comes to stablecoins, and is one of the best people if you're looking for generating yield on stables. He's the go-to guy when it comes to X and stablecoins. He has a really great thread on infiniFI, and their overall opportunity to generate yield to be able to earn towards the airdrop. He has a really, really great thread that he's put together a lot better than I could have, that I highly recommend that you check out. If you're wanting some exposure to other projects out there, there's going to be some that are a lot louder than others, especially ones that partner with SocialFi platforms, your KAST, all of these SocialFi platforms where essentially content creators get paid in airdrops to talk about this. So a lot of the noise gets built up where some of these bigger, noisier projects, and you see some of the quieter ones that are building in the backgrounds, and those are the ones that oftentimes are the most rewarding. So I think infiniFI is one of those, definitely one to check out as far as stablecoins are concerned. Now, moving on to the last few projects, the next one is called OpenEden. Now, OpenEden is integrating within the real world assets aspect of stablecoins. So they are also backed by Yeezy Labs. We saw the massive growth of some of the top cryptocurrencies over the last couple of weeks based off of the returns. We saw the likes of Aster, a few other projects out there backed by Yeezy Labs that have done very, very well. And so when you look at some of these, they also have very, very good airdrop opportunities. So that's why I want to highlight this in today's video. They are a leading real-world asset tokenization platform. And one of the approaches that they have is finance with real-world asset tokenization and tokenizing T-bills, treasury bills. You can see right now they have $264 million right now. They have some of the biggest backers right here. You see Arbitrum, you see Galaxy, Yeezy Labs, and BlackRock. And they have another crypto that is their stablecoin called USDai. Now, what is that? Some of the things to understand with OpenEden, they do have an upcoming airdrop, so you can check out the campaign that they have going on. It's one that I highly recommend that you do so. There's a lot of different aspects to a lot of these by supplying. It's gonna be similar to the next one that we talked about. This one does require really not want to say a lot of time, but does require capital. So do be mindful of that, because a lot of these, you want to be able to participate with this protocol and that protocol and hold this stablecoin on that platform. You have to kind of be mindful, unless you have an unlimited supply of money like Elon Musk, you have to be mindful of which ones are the most rewarding. And that's why I think these next projects are going to be the most rewarding when it comes to you needing to hold a type of stablecoin on a certain platform to generate as much yield and as much points as possible, because that's how you're going to earn towards the overall airdrop. So you saw that with the likes of infiniFI. It's going to require a bit of your capital. When it comes to the likes of OpenEden, it is also going to require a bit of your capital. You can see some of the different platforms and how you're going to be able to earn the overall bills. I'll have a full dedicated video on that for the future. But that also is very similar with another project that we talked about yesterday called Solstice. Now, Solstice has a stablecoin. They do have an airdrop that is going to be called SLX. SLX is not currently live. That is going to be a guaranteed airdrop. This is one that in just 2 days has overall TVL of $181 million. This is one gaining a lot of exposure, gaining a lot of attention. So there's going to be a lot of people trying to get in. You earn flares towards your airdrop. That is by referrals, by participating in the different platforms. So for example, if you're going to go to their yield vault and participate in some of the yield platforms, so for example, you can do the basic side of it. You can really go into some of the deeper ends of this and be able to earn exponentially on some of these platforms. So you can see some of the different yields available. But like I said, this is one that has a ton of attention and a ton of people participating. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of how you are allocating which platform you're going to participate in the most. So moving on from Solstice, I realize there's a ton of projects we're covering, but hopefully this gets you at least a foot in the door to get a better understanding of some of the opportunities that exist and be able to, from here, go and do a bit of research and figure out which one fits your narrative the most. But I think Cash has a lot of interesting things behind it. It is backed by the likes of Phantom. Phantom is probably one of the biggest wallets for Solana. Phantom may or may not have an airdrop in the future. There's a lot of speculation about it, but a ton of people use Phantom. Almost everybody in the Solana ecosystem does. But it is designed by Phantom using open issuance by Stablecoin and Stripe. So we're not going to talk about Stablecoin specifically in this video, but this is very, very interesting. Stablecoins launching on Solana. Solstice is one of those. A lot of popularity there. Cash is going to be another competitor as it comes out as well. It is a neutral open loop stablecoin backed one by USD. So I think very, very interesting. There is going to be an airdrop. There's going to be ways to be able to participate and get involved in the ecosystem. Highly recommend that you contribute, you join in because it's one that is gaining a lot of attention. And relatively small. I mean, when you look at the amount of followers, right? They have 7,100 followers. This is an up and coming project. It's relatively small, but great backing, great partners, and a great opportunity. Now, last but definitely not least is a project that I'm actually going to be interviewing on Monday. So if you have any questions for them, feel free to let me know and I'll bring them up. But USDai is a synthetic dollar that is backed by AI infrastructure. So essentially they loan out stable coins for companies that are building out AI data centers. So all of their loans are backed by GPUs. So I'm going to have a full interview with them on Monday. But this is one that has gained so much attention that their own stablecoin is overpegged by 5%. So if you were to buy their stablecoin, you're automatically losing 5% on your money. That is how much demand is there for the likes of USDai. It is absolutely insane. In a very, very short amount of time, they had a TVL of over 500 million that is currently capped. And there is a ton of demand for them to uncap that so more people can get in because of the growth of AI and how early many people were to this. I talked about this multiple times. Right now, there are two approaches to earning the airdrop. There is an ICO, and then there is the airdrop. So you can do the ICO route, but you have to KYC. If you're in the United States, you can't do that. So for me, I am fully aligned with the airdrop, which doesn't require a KYC and allows you 30% of the overall tokens. I have 33,000 total points allocated. I have a full video on how to participate in this. I'll leave it down below. But this is one I highly, highly recommend that you check out. This is one that also, when you look at the YTs, this is where the majority of my points have been through here on Pendle. But the massive, massive growth that you're seeing here is just absolutely insane. There is a ton of attention. This is where I bought the YTs. I could probably even sell back my YTs for more than what I paid for them, just due to the amount of demand that there is right now. Now, mind you, this is actually for March 2026. So mine is actually for November. I think I might have to move mine over. But if we go back over to the markets, let's just see SUSDai. By the way, SUSDai is how you want to be able to get towards the airdrop itself. There's going to be a couple of them out there. So this is the one that I have. The overall if I was to go to YTs and want to sell my YTs, that I paid $29 for, I could essentially get my money back in staked USDai and keep my points. So the overall impressive points aspect that I've generated from just a few dollars, I mean, less than 30 bucks, absolutely insane. I expect this to continue to grow. Highly, highly recommend that you check this out. This is going to be a top tier stablecoin project, especially as the overall ecosystem grows. And there's so many more out there. I mean, that we can talk. I mean, I'll go ahead and pull up one that I totally forgot to mention, but called Kinetic. Kinetic is focused on the Hyperliquid ecosystem. They've crossed $2 billion in stake 4K hype. So this is one I kind of failed to mention, but Hyperliquid has grown tremendously. They have over 2 billion in TVL, 22,000 holders for Kinetic, and the liquid staking that's available within Hyperliquid's the Hyper EVM ecosystem. So you can earn K points towards the airdrop. Highly recommend that you also check this one out. I mean, there's a massive list. If you're a huge fan of Hyperliquid, maybe not for everyone, but this is a project also definitely worth checking out. So mind you, I could probably spend an hour talking about a lot of the opportunities out there, but sometimes there's just not enough time in the day to do that. But hopefully this video kind of got your foot in the door, got your feet wet as to some of the opportunities that exist out there, some of the interesting opportunities based on maybe what ecosystem you're most bullish on. Maybe you're not bullish on Hyperliquid and you think another DEX is going to be out there, so maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you aren't bullish on buy now, pay later. Maybe you aren't bullish on KYCing for stablecoins, and that is perfectly fine because someone else is, and hopefully that someone else is you. If you enjoyed this video, smash up a like. You enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. Until next time, guys, stay invested.